Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got a fun and exciting update for you guys today because last time I talked about Namco System 23 emulation, we were able to play Time Crisis 2, but in the last week we've seen a lot of improvements to MAME, giving us improvements across the board on Namco System 22, 23, and its derivatives. And honestly, these are some of the best arcade games of all time in my opinion, and when they did get ported over to PlayStation 2, they got graphical upgrades, taking away that Namco System 23 look and imparting in the PlayStation 2 look. And while these games wouldn't be quote-unquote playable today outside of one instance, it is super fun to talk about the improvements that are here and what's going to happen in the future. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, got a Patreon link down below as well. But right now we're looking at the introductory sequence to Crisis Zone. That's probably my favorite Time Crisis game outside of the mainline series. And maybe, spoilers, you might be seeing a Time Crisis retrospective at the beginning of the year on the channel. And I do absolutely love the Namco System 23 hardware. I have one board in my closet that I'm still waiting to wire up because it's an absolute massive beast. It is one of the heaviest, most insane boards in my collection, and honestly, it's one of those things that I'll probably never use it outside of trying it once and tearing it apart on camera because it is just so hard to actually deal with outside of a cabinet. And that's why projects like MAME are so incredibly important and so amazing at the same time. It allows you to play games you know, love, and remember the way that you remember them looking without having to have a giant PCB in the closet that if it fell off the shelf and hit you in the head would probably send you into the afterlife, because trust me, these boards are absolutely massive. The metal case they come in is huge, and this was impressive when it came out. All of this destructible environments, all of the different stuff flying across the screen was something you really didn't see very often in arcade games. Now unfortunately you can't really quote-unquote play the game right now because the gun inputs are very wonky, and that's not a strike against MAME, it is just in development, but it's not really controllable currently. You have a lot of issues having to deal with that. And honestly, the graphics compared to the PlayStation 2 version, I much prefer the arcade original because the PlayStation 2 version has this annoying fog effect over the top to basically cover up all the flashes on screen if you're using a light gun. So the arcade original is the way to play, and hopefully soon it'll be 100% playable in MAME. Let's move over to Rapid River here, and big thanks to the Cool Pup. He's one of the moderators of my Discord for capturing this footage for me. He spent a lot of time getting all of this set up, so I thank him for that. And there is a link to my Discord down below if you ever want to join up and help or just chat. We talk about MAME stuff all the time over there. Now if you've never seen a Rapid River cabinet before, it kind of looked a little bit like Magical Truck Adventure, except as opposed to being an actual railway truck, it is a gigantic raft that you sit in and basically use an oar, which is absolutely fun, and if you've ever played it, you'll know it's a workout indeed. And the sad part about cabinets like this is they got so beat up at arcades, they are exceedingly rare right now. I don't know of any Rapid River cabinet in the US that I've heard of, so if you do know where there is one, leave me a comment down below. And having games like this in MAME aren't just here for fun, it's also just for the preservation, because this original hardware is not getting any more common, and I would say that the Namco hardware tends to be a little bit delicate. It can have some issues, so this is the type of hardware that one day will be extinct, so having it working in MAME is absolutely going to be crucial for anyone to be able to enjoy these games moving forward. And just this Monday I talked about video game preservation, the ability to actually play games into the future, so having games like Rapid River come to MAME is just going to be so important if you actually want to experience this game in 5 to 10 years. But if you want to experience it today, be aware that it's non-finalized emulation and you need to bring a heavy hitter CPU along for the ride down the river, pun very much intended, because you're going to want the maximum amount of speed you can on a modern CPU if you're going to get anywhere near a playable performance. Obviously that's going to improve in the future. These videos are more just to tell you the news and talk about these games. I wouldn't say that any one of these games is 100% playable right now outside of Time Crisis 2, which we featured last year, and I will show you in a little bit because it has seen improvements. But it is just so much fun to see this game in motion. I played it one time a long time ago, either in Aspen or Vail, Colorado when I was out for the X Games. Pretty much every single ski resort would always have amazing cabinets in the lodge to kind of play around with, and I would throw some quarters into them every time I saw them. But that was probably like 2005, 2006, or 2007, so honestly, it has been almost 2 decades since I've played this game on a cabinet. But the nice thing is the sound emulation here is very good. It is almost perfect, so go ahead and listen to the sounds of Rapid River for 45 seconds, and I'll be right back and show you 2 more games that currently work in MAME that never used to work before, but enjoy because this music is quite good. I mean, for non-finalized emulation, that sounds exceedingly good, and it might be very close to original PCB, but obviously that's something that you would have to really hunt down to find. And moving over to Motocross Go, another game that never used to work in MAME, and now is working. I would not classify this as playable, and honestly, outside of Time Crisis 2, I wouldn't classify any of them as playable, but it is experienceable, and that is something that does matter. If you can't play a game 100%, at least you can experience it and see it right in front of you. I would say that the controls in this game definitely a little bit dicey, and that seems to be a lot of the times what happens with 3D games. They will start drawing graphics, you'll be able to get some sound, but the inputs either won't be there or they'll be very flawed, kind of like Konami Viper emulation that I talked about a few months ago on the channel. It's seen some improvements, but actually getting every single game to run the way it should, control-wise, can be quite difficult, and sometimes between the same game, different region of release, you can have different ways to control the game. GTI Club is very famous on the Viper for that, having a clutch in some versions and others don't have it whatsoever, and that totally screws up the emulation sometimes. But again, work in progress, and you can definitely see how the motorcycle turns has absolutely no relationship to real world physics, and definitely isn't the way that it would turn on the cabinet either. Basically, if you try to turn, it seems to be doing it at 100% maximum analog values. But that again is still fine. We're just here to talk about the fact that this game never used to boot in MAME before and now does boot, and I would say on the graphics front looks relatively good as well. There'll be a few glitches here and there, but you can 100% recognize this is a motocross track. You are on a motorcycle, you can see the backgrounds and all of the polygons in the game, and these systems were definitely heavy hitters when it came to pushing polys around the screen. Basically, this was Namco trying to compete with stuff like the Sega Model 2 and the Sega Model 3, and I would say Sega definitely takes the crown as far as arcade hardware power is concerned. Namco was always nipping at their heels and was probably 95% as good in the 3D realm as Sega ever was. But it's just again fun to see stuff like this actually working in MAME, and it means that people are actively working on these games and this hardware, and I bet you in the next year or two this emulation will be so good that you can basically just sit down and play the games and enjoy them like you want, and that really does matter because again I can't stress enough just how massive these arcade boards really are and how few of them still exist in arcades. Time Crisis 2, Crisis Zone might still be out there, but something like Rapid River, best of luck finding one, but I'm sure as soon as I say that, someone's going to comment down below and say they saw it last week, and I absolutely do love when you guys do that. So if you know where there is a Rapid River cabinet, leave me a comment down below. Now, Time Crisis 2 has seen the most improvement. This was a game that was playable maybe like 5-6 months ago. It definitely had some layering priorities in the graphics, and sometimes the polygons would draw over top what should be underneath as far as the actual priority is concerned. So if you want to play Time Crisis 2 today in MAME, just go ahead and make sure you have the most recent version, and you should be 100% good to go. And while I understand this game was ported to PlayStation 2, it had a big graphical power increase, and honestly the Namco system graphics I just prefer more because it does have that nostalgia, although theoretically the PlayStation 2 version definitely would be the quote-unquote way to play because it is the best looking version of the game. But why not have two different versions of Time Crisis, because it is one of those arcade classics and it's just one of those things. Having more games in MAME is always awesome, and the sound on this one is very good as well, so go ahead and listen for 30 seconds this time, and I'll be right back with a little bit more Time Crisis 2 footage, and I'll talk a little bit about what in the emulation can improve in the next version. But enjoy because this music's a 10 out of 10.
Action! Go, go, go! Got him! Action! Haul trees! Fire! Fire!
I mean, that sounds pretty good to me, and again, none of this emulation is finalized, but it's just such an exciting thing to be able to talk about improvements in MAME. I love the MAME emulator. It pretty much keeps the arcade game world alive, because for everyone like me who loves to collect arcade PCBs, 99 of you out there aren't interested in any way, shape, or form, and honestly, I don't have all the space in the world, so I can't buy or collect every single PCB I would like to have in my collection. I have to depend on MAME like everyone else, and honestly, I also don't have the money to buy every single arcade PCB I would like. No space, no money means you gotta use MAME sometimes, and it is here for you. And that's what I want to talk about on the channel. I don't care if you play games on original hardware, I don't care if you use FPGA emulation, and I don't care if you use software emulation. All I genuinely care about is you play the games that you remember from back in the day, and you have a hell of a fun time doing it. And that's why MAME is such an amazing project, and the developers that write the code to be able to emulate stuff like this do an incredible job as well, because everyone wants to play these games, and nobody codes for MAME just because they're trying to prove a point. It's because they love games and they love people being able to play them, and that's always what I'm advocating for on this channel. You to be able to play the games you want when you want them, and if you want to play Time Crisis 2 right now in MAME, go ahead and do it. There'll be a few graphical glitches, but otherwise it is near to perfect. But short of that, we're done. I'll update this video next time MAME emulation gets updated, but go have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.